that's what I'm saying. As a technologist, you're only in an organisation for a purpose. So the role of that organisation is very important to understand. It mustn't spread with the government, but that's how we're going to spend our money. And hopefully, with risk analysis, it's saying to us where you spend the money. So do risk analysis and then some physical controls, that's what we say. That could have been where the whole thing is about planning, policy, risk analysis, backup, and security. So try not to do the lecture, but do the lecture together, let's tell a story. Right? I think I haven't this tonight, but I could say something like, well, let's take up backup and physical security are two things that go together when you see my notes. So things that one thing together. Unless I say, how do you do backup? Think about backup and physical. So risk management is, who has done risk management before? Who's done any risk calculation? Anyone here who works for a company? Normally if you work for a company, you'll be using risk management somewhere. Right? It's the basic of every project management part of is your risk register. Now, of course, with project management, the risks are more do start to work on time, do I lose key people, do I get my supplies on time? So you're not worried about that, okay? But it's everywhere. So what risk management is concerned with identifying risk and drawing up plans to minimize their effects on a project, right? And the government's thinking projects that start with doing something. Risk is probability, not certainty, that some adverse circumstance will occur. Project risks affect schedules or resources. Product risks affect the quality of performance of the software being developed. And the business risk affects the organizational development of procuring the software, or having a business. General risk. Risks are not bad. There is one idea, risks are not bad. As long as you understand them, you know where they come from, what's caused them, and you know the benefits are ultimately most of you will claim stock market, right? It be your pension or other place, you may not do it yourself, but there are risks involved, right? And so if you're going to put £5 on or a lottery ticket for £3, not a great risk. But if your income is only £10 a week, that becomes a very bit more of a risk. Okay? So it depends on the benefits and probabilities and so on. Lots of bad ideas. In general, three factors increase the risk of a project. The project size. So if I've got a turnover of 2 million and this project is £2,000, that's a long turnover, that's a big risk. If I've got a turnover of 20 million and the project is £2,000, not a lot. The size will matter. So the size of the project, the scale of investment you're doing, you know, if you want to replace all these switches, for example, that's a big project. Your experience, how much have you got in this experience of these type of projects before? So you want to put some new intrusion detection systems in. Is that new to you? Have you done it before? Or is this the fifth time you've done this? You know what you do, you've learned all the mistakes before? Or is it new? And the other thing that we increase the risk is the complexity of the security. So if you can do a major overhaul of your security system, and it's a multinational with multiple sites, that's quite hard. Yeah. And so that will increase the risk. So how much risk will your company take? How much risk are you prepared as an organisation to take? So it's understanding that these things will naturally increase the risk. Project size in relation to your organisation, your previous experience as an organisation, right? And the project size. So, well, I know, all that's fine. What do we need to do through this tonight? What we want to do from the risk. So especially if you have to answer to these four, I'm going to try and pick them. Okay? So just get, just 3 minutes, I'll time it. I don't want to keep it too long. Right? Ask yourself these questions, and then we'll try and score them up to
Why we need a risk analysis? Risk analysis. Risk analysis.这是被计算，然后每一条的那个严重性，可能是特别严重，如果发生的话是特别严重，中等严重或者不严重，然后会给它乘起来得一个得分之后，就是怎么改进，然后后边再检查，基本上。你是本地跑了一个 Python 那个，然后调的 Google 的。对对对。我要调你不是建立过那个什么吗？我要调你的资料。建那个 Google 什么？你要调你直接输我的 IP 地址端口就行了，你就可以调。手机也能调。你得给我一个呀。我得给你改我的 IP 地址就行。对啊。对。他待会儿要点人说你，就可以点。你刚刚说的那几点是什么？就是先列出。先有一个那个risk 的列，risk list，然后possibility of every risk，possibility and 风险，不是风险，是方法 method how to。
So anyone who's not put their hands up has not answered the question before, is that right? Okay, start with this group. Well, hopefully 2% response. Really, excellent answer. That's very good, very good answer. So we want to understand what the threat is, we want to allocate resources to minimize the very, very answer. This is scared. What was that hand? Do you want to answer that or? continuity of performance, continuity of the system, very important. So we don't know what the risks are. Yeah.
I think if we think some computer or software have a bigger risk and it maybe cost many money to maintain it. So I think we can just give up.
I like that. So certain bits of software have more risk. Like, do you want to unpack? I mean, if not, I will do that. Do you want to unpack what you meant by certain software? What were you thinking of? What type of software? You're right. I was thinking you have different types of software in mind.
I think some software had right for many years.
Yeah, so like the IAM KIC system, as you know, it's the International Transaction System, been going 30 years, runs in every bank. If the bank does not do its transactions, IBM pays for a lot of money per hour to the bank, millions. So believe me, that software does not go wrong. Okay? As a bank 2 years ago claimed that the IBM system failed, and we went to check, and that's what we nothing else. They found out that it was open source software, whoa, free, easy to use, untested, unreliable. Not always. Some of it is absolutely fantastic. Some of it's not. So we have models like this open source maturity model that actually allow you to assess how mature something is. But using open source software, why is that a big problem? What happens this week after the weeks with open source software? I'm going to pause it, but it's so good to pause for this one. I thought you knew about this, I thought I may have mentioned it. Okay. An open source software is used on the Internet of Things, and 12 years ago, there was a known bug, and the patches existed. But because it's Internet of Things, people didn't bother patching it. And many systems have been exploited through Internet of Things devices using this open source software. Now what's annoying was, what's the first word people saying? Patch your damn software. Right? It wasn't even if the patch didn't exist. It existed 12 years ago. Right? Now there is always people developing these lovely IoT systems, not even thinking about the IoT, didn't even patch this open source software. So although it doesn't, patching software takes time. Okay? It does take time. I don't want to belittle. So this is another frustration. You can build something beyond you. That's software up. But there are programs out there that allow you to build something up to date. Okay? But the key one is open source software being used enormous amounts of time, it's very well used software. And all its patches known. They just didn't apply them. And then it got exploited. This is what I said in the first lecture you gave me, was the fact that IoT is breaking down that castle wall dependency. Right? So I've threw this comment away at the conference, and And it's not my idea, but it's not a good idea. Go ahead, right, I've got the Department of Defence from the CV, that's the ONR, I've got the Atlantic here from the CV, and they insist all because I made this comment, right? Because they're all panicking now, right? But this next point is only because someone didn't bother doing the patch on. Okay? So where were we? About software. Excellent. Some software is more risky, understanding that risk is important. So if you have something like a Kix, which is 30 years old, not the same software, obviously, it's like but 30 years of reliability, probably a very low risk. Open source software, probably a high risk. Right? So well done, good answer. I know I applied it to it, but it was only this week it's been announced. Yeah, so please apply the patches. So, as said already, to protect the company and the assets of the property in the company, the company brand, right? This is where this university is paranoid, right? They're paranoid that you lot in cybersecurity will release a worm and our brand will get brought down, or you make some disclosure that will affect the brand, right? Personally, I think it might increase our brand if you were able to employee productivity. You know, if we don't get this right, we can't produce that properly, not efficient. So, business continuity, all we mentioned, a big thing is how do we maintain our business practice going. Okay. And there are regulatory authority bodies that we have to comply with as well. Actually, there's very little in terms of compliance here in the UK. When you buy systems, they want ISO 9001 officially. No one's asking for 27000. Right? No one is actually asking for the cybersecurity intelligence plus. So the government has made it a regulation that if you want to work with government bodies, you must have cybersecurity essentials. What they meant was Department of Defence or Health Authority. They weren't talking about the council down here, you must just put in a terminal. Well, it's got a bit old to hand. But elsewhere, there's no regulations, there's no categories. Very sad. So, security assessment, right, I go on about this. Continuous improvement is hit everywhere now, unfortunately. But the logic goes things like this. You analyze your system, you come up with a plan, you implement it, you review it, reanalyze, change the plan, and that's what it's saying here. So you would do your analysis, get the report, that's a report, you make some recommendation very basic, you just do it, implement, then report, monitor, and go out and share. So that's what we're trying to do all the time. The clue here is that you don't do it wrong. All your audits, all your processes, ongoing situations, you don't do it wrong. Okay, so just now about what we said last week. We spend a lot of time and effort in planning all sorts of things that may never happen. Hopefully will never happen. And one thing we never thought of, we don't know what we have known, will happen. Right? On the other hand, thinking ahead with a clear mind is easier than responding on the fly. So if such happens we never thought of, at least we have a plan in place that might catch that and know what to do. But what we're trying to say here is you will not be able to plan for every circumstance. So Patton, the very famous general, the old Patton, Chinese one, who said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Right? So how good your plan is, when you start the enemy, the plan goes out the window. So what we're trying to say here, no matter how much we plan, it's a good piece of plan. You will not get through that. Patton's quote was, the whole purpose of planning is planning. Right? So almost you can say, once you've done the planning, put up throw the bin. Okay? The process of planning is more important than the plan that comes up. Okay? That's very important to remember. It's the fact you sat down and thought it through and so on that's very important rather than the actual end result. I will try and find that the general quote from China. That was quote from China, no transplant first contract, we hear. So there's three components. There's the impact of the risk, like potential loss, and we often talk in money. Sounds awful, but very much. But it's when we talk about the potential loss in terms of money, the impact it will have on our business. Right? The probability of it occurring, right? And the risk control, to minimize the risk, mitigation, just like any other risk plan, the responsibility to say, hey, how can we control this? So we've probably seen these tables. What we have is a table, and we have the facility, and then we have the effect on each severity, and that will give us a number. So if you want to what probability is by code is 1, the severity is by 5, and 5, and 5. But we might have something else where the probability is 2, and the severity is 3, and 6. You've still got to decide, given the severity, how much you want. It's not matter just one number. You often have this problem with people first doing the stats. When you first do stats, you tend to be led by the statistics, the methods, and you stop looking back and saying what's important. Okay, so when we do all these number things, when we work out when we will work these out, you still need to use the table, right? Don't just rely on the numbers. Because although maybe local probability is very high and a catastrophe it actually happens, even though it's low, you may want to spend some time thinking about it. Okay? So don't just think about probability, think about effectiveness. So risk impact times risk probability is risk exposure based on calculations. A potential virus attack, 10k loss, 0.3 probability of what's happening, 3k is your exposure. Right? So spend £100 on the bike show. Okay, it's worthwhile. But it gets a bit different if actually that was to your company as a whole and you had 1,000 PCs and that becomes £3,000. You take risk. Well, the answer is no, because it's not going to affect. But, think about that. Do you want to take that risk? No, you can say, well, I'm only exposed by £3,000. So Sony's a good example. Sony you hacked twice now, it's fine, more data or not. How much does that cost them? The game, do you know roughly how much it cost them? It cost them $1 million to go. The trouble is, the VP you charge is just $5 million inside. So he's got 3 more hacks to go. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying, no, for me, I've got $5 million over here, it's cost me £1 million, $1 million. If I was to try and fix all those problems, it cost me far more of my money and my software. Yes, the adaptation probably will hit, but Sony's still selling games, still selling films, still got TV channels. They're still doing things, right? And so for them, it was terrible, it was awful, it cost them $1 million. It's $5 million for the time. So the exposure has not reached the point yet where it hurts them. So it's not reached the point where you need to think about it. That may sound contrary to what I'm teaching about security, but this is what the reality of an organisation. You have a limited budget, or you've got insurance somewhere. So risk is about working out your exposure as an organisation, and if it's worth spending the money. So what we tend to do is we look at the probability of all the events we can think of, we rank them in terms of our loss, our exposure. Right? Sometimes we'll do annual loss expectancy, or the estimated annual cost. Right? fine. Now, the danger of doing this is that as you work out the probability of all your events, is that you're arguing probability, not certainty. So something may be a low probability, but a high event may occur more than you realise. Okay? So it may even say, oh, that rarely happens, but it may happen. Right? So you've got to be careful. Okay? So you don't get complacent when you look at this list and think, oh, well, we know what we're going to have to deal with. But be certain. You should never be certain in security. So controls and countermeasures often do more than one. It's just not doing one thing. So putting in a virus check or putting in a firewall or sort of number of things. Patching your software will probably save you a lot of money, but not just one thing. And as you will learn, events are often interrelated, and this is where I'm trying to get some money from the people, is that very often the moment I'll show you why, it tends to be the recent event or the result. And what happens when they intertwine? What's the effect on each discussion? So you see this table, minimal effect, catastrophic, and then we multiply it by these numbers. And as a rule of thumb, if it's less than 5, either that it's really good, it's okay. If it's amber, you need to be thinking about it, red, you really need to deal with it. Again, that's a number-led approach. Please be aware. Don't just think of the number. You may still put something down there as a 2 or a 3, especially if it starts going up this category. So that 5 at the top there, that's what we're going to look at. Definitely look at that 10. Right? Sorry, wrong around. This way here. Look at that 6. That's 6. There we go. Big catastrophic will happen. Even though it's lower than 30, do look at it. And that 10, you want to look at those there. Make sure there may be low numbers, but where they are on that graph is important. Yeah, I probably lost the I'm off the web, so I'm not taking any claim to the matching here. Absolutely, yeah, it's sort of 3 times 2 is not 5. Absolutely clear. But hey, mistakes happen, it's every number, so you do need to go through the check. Remember, you need to be working with a team on this model. You need a team as well, many brains help. Yes, that's the same. There's an important point to understand that. So you tend to, again, ISO 27001 actually goes through some risk assessment techniques. And what they've done is you've done that, and they sort of say the policy, or the security, the asset classification control, this is just an example, this is not real. And you've done, and you sort of, having done that table, label the things that you're looking on. So communication operations, backup and recovery, intrusion detection, network harm, architecture, and so they are some research. Local security, social engineering, high risk, you need to look at that. And then, I don't have a social engineering, I'm not sure if you can put that with you, but the same problem that we need to do today. We're the ones who are not the people. Disaster recovery, business continuity design, that's just an example of how something is about. But they do tell you something about. So the two strategies, I've said before, we can avoid controlling and we can buy the virus check. Right, so of course we do that. Or we can say, workers, it's your responsibility to have a virus check. Don't be bad policy, by the way, but you can avoid, you can transfer it. You can transfer it to users, or to your subcontractor along the way. You can take out insurance. Now, I went, or something the government was running, the biggest complaint in the industry, insurance companies, coordinating shipping, problem losing a container, security insurance, very, very poor, very expensive, really not appropriate. So the big industries we've had here to understand security and insurance that you can buy. So if you buy insurance, it tends to be against a big exposure to those expensive. You need to take out insurance as well. So the small companies will understand it's too expensive, and the insurance companies don't really understand the risks. So to them, which is always a big risk. Well, you know, the cars, you really understand the risk. So that is it. So we need more data, we need the health insurance companies to make you do some assumptions, so you can assume the risk, control it, prepare to deal with the long consequences, so you know the risk, you know your exposure, you know how much you spent on that. If you ask anybody, you ask the CEO, they'll say they want no risk, right? So you ask them for £1 million, and they go, oh well, I don't know, right? You can't have no risk. So this leverage, the risk exposure before, minus risk exposure after, and then divide that by the cost of actually doing this, and this gives you a sort of measure of how effective the risk will be. So you need to high enough value before undertaking the risk reduction. I know you're on the course of implementing cybersecurity with like math all the time and cost. It's very important to look at all the techniques that we implement. Okay, so qualitative is a very aspect of this.
Sorry for taking you back. When you're talking about risk strategy, where would you classify, for instance, the options to terminate that line of business? Because you just mentioned the three strategies here: avoidance, transfer, and acceptance.
And you're suggesting quite rightly there are others as well.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. Sorry, I should say, for example, there are three, right? These are not the only ones. There's other ways of dealing with this as well. Right. So the qualitative risk analysis, only estimate potential loss is used, using a number of integrated elements. We talk about threats, either deliberate manipulation of information prior to processing, impersonation of a business user, untrained or poorly trained staff, for example. So that's the one. You know, I've got some colleagues who do penetration testing. They stand outside a London bank and ask people to fill in the username and password or not. So they want their name, username and password. And 30% of what they get are real username and password. Because it's only 30%, but why 30%? There's a tax, there's a people on casual contract, there's no buying your organisation at all. So therefore be more than but what you've got is a whole bunch of untrained, fully trained staff giving away username and password. They don't understand the importance of it. And when you're working in the cleaning section, I only got one day time I wrote right? For them, they're not doing anything important to security. But that's the way it is. Vulnerability, full websites or network design, which are now happy to use the website, just to get into internet stuff, not realizing about SQL injection, not realizing about coding calls. Full regulatory procedures, not actually checking if people have the qualifications they've got. I mean, we could go through hours of stories where people have done this many times. Someone comes in, the CV sounds great, they do good talk, but they're not asked for multiple jobs. That's why many companies now GED a test, coding test, or security test, and it's often not just needing to interview across the one. But small panels get somebody still satisfying. Controls, then terrace controls, which is right over good, of the tank. Prevent controls, you know, and themselves. Corrective controls, which is the effect of the tank, and that's the one you're doing. Effective control, prevent or correct control. So there's a lot going on we can do there. Okay, let's stop at this slide. So we said before we have to establish the review boundary. We're not going to be reviewing the whole system on go, not do the slices. We have to identify the assets themselves, and then the evaluation of the assets goes to between our assets, how they work together. The bottom slide is the threat assessment of vulnerability assessment, and then the ability to safeguard, do the risk calculation, and then the risk plan. It's quite important, technical. You know, you have to, this is very technical. Sometimes unless you know that. Right, once that cost comes to, so we normally have to wait for 10 minutes, or we can continue it up to that. You normally can go up to the building of the team, go out the smoke, whatever. Okay, so we stop for 10 minutes.
Fu invasore del taxatore sta guida mi jardini fenomeno sta avendo
我这搜了一个在线的，
che hanno spazio che
这个键 chat
他就问着说那个可以，说咱的想法可以，特别好。
真的啊，做特别好是吧？
那你觉得？
那就做这个呗。现在都
你觉得 brilliant 是啥意思 ？And his
brilliant 非常好。而且现在比较火这个东西。
松手。就搜手嘛。
就这样做了。
It's just that you could probably do, but if there's a queue when you get there. Keep going, no.
这还稀释。
有那种聊天的，有第三方的工具，第三。
你本地的那拿什么架的？
啊？
你本地跑的那个Python，你拿什么架
？Flask， 我一般用 Flask， 有好的 Python 后台好多框架，有 Django、Web2P Web APP， 还有 Flask 是一个。
之前用过。
啊？
之前用过。
对呀，我那个系统就是 Flask 写的。Flask 是一个非常小而美的一个框架，就是。
那服务拿什么？
也是 Python 写的吗？
不是你本地的那个服务。
本地的那个服务。
你本地拿什么？
就 Python 的服务。
干自己。
对呀。Python 自己啊，他自己可以干这事儿。Node 不就也是这个吗？Python 自己。
我没跑起来，我昨天晚上试呀，没跑起来。
你是试的什么？
我忘了，我找了一个网上
你聊天的。
¿Cómo es llevar actividad? Oh no.
我看 Google 语音聊天的。这种叫即时通讯云，直接用别人的即时通讯云就行了。
Are you seeing me on Friday? Do you have some questions for me on Friday? I asked you to speak to some games.
什么？我说咱聊天就用即时通讯，看能不能找到这种即时通讯云呢？云别人的东西，我不用自己写，调一个就。
我看你那个 Python 是怎么跑的？
等会儿啊，代码特别简单，之前扒的代码，这扒了特别多。就这么一句就可以了，这就能跑了，这么一句。然后我这就到时候调这个，调这个了就返回这个页面，调这个就返回这个页面。我就整了俩页面，页面在 template 里面，这个整了俩页面。JavaScript 就直接写在这个里面，我就没拆，现在就是。
它那个地图的位置调的是个什么呀？我看它那个就是你地图的那个位置。显示地图的那个位置，
就这儿啊，
它返回的是个，
就返回这个页面嘛，返回相当于模板似的，我这个 HTML 给它返回去，明白了意思？
就它返回你的是什么？
它给我返回的就是这个。
它返回一个页面。
对对。
那你是嵌在你这个页面上？
我页面直接写好了呀。现在这种开发的 JS 和这种开发不都是模板式的 HTML 模板吗？
就那整个页面都是它返给你的吗？
对呀。你就相当于 get 嘛，其实所有的 verb 不都是这样吗 ？get
我寻思咱打显示的时候，要不要内嵌它返回的这个页面？
什么叫为啥叫内嵌返回的页面？
那你页面还要写别的吗？
要写别的呀。
对啊，你直接写这页面要吗？
那你就是模板嵌模板再嵌模板。
对啊，那外层那个是咱们自己写的，然后把这个嵌到内层。
对。你看我，
不是，因为我在想你什么方式嵌，什么方式嵌涉及到你能不能用它里边的元素。我打开另外一个，你看，之前写这个的时候。
Nist， 你看这儿仿佛一个 Nist HTML， Nist HTML，Nist，
咱们下午有没有实验？
没有，是1到3周都没有。
对，没有，对，
有可能。
你们一会儿还有课吗？
没有了。
他明天这课还上。
哦。
就上礼拜不是星期四还是星期五有会议？
不知道，明天问一会儿。
你们项目多吗？开发的任务？
啥没有。
我们一堆开发的任务。
我们主要是那个是machine learning，那个就是每周都做实验，每周交实验。
实验是什么呀？
就是他给你个题，让你做。
你得也得8代码了。
对，就8代码。
那跟我们差不多，我们也在写作业。
那你们做项目吗？项目
对。对，我们项目。
我的课是大的项目。
就 Web。
零的。然后我们做那个 Web Python 是小作业，差不多每周吧。很小的。
我的作业都就问实验，就我的作业的实验还挺多的，不懂。
对，好，你看吧，这个页面，请求这个页面的时候，它其实有一些公共的部分，就是那个头啊，这个边上的框啊，它就其实已经就是引用这个页面啊，你其实引过来，你再写你这部分就行。其实它都引过来，就是你把一些公共的页面，像这种就是框架最外层的就是公共的页面，公共的页面直接引。它这个里面也引了别人的，那公共的页面再引了一个最基本的，你看看，这都是引的，它页面页脚啊，这些都是公共的。
那就是直接碎片引入呗。
碎片引入，对。碎片引入
操作到里边的东西。
对呀。碎片。就这块我们就单独写这块。
你要是 frame 引的话，就完蛋了，里边你就操作不着。
不用服了，
对，
咱不用服。咱就碎片
啊，碎片还行。我一开始是看是不是碎片，支持啊，
它就是专门就是干这个。Frame 第一是复杂，第二是慢一些，是不是 ？Frame 现在基本上都还用那个 Frame 吗？你除非是那种，就是
有那个什么，就是跨域的。
你得整个 HTML 给它给它。
对，跨域。但是我之前有那种一个代码，就是给那个媒体。
那是别人的东西，像你这都是自己的嘛，我的可以碎片
和蛋挞，各种问题啊。
它这个代码直接这么一敲，这就起来了，你直接非常简单，所以它只是云部署的，又不用什么那个。你说我一台机器布个10几20套，整个一起咔咔全部起来，然后再传到别的机器，全部一下传过去。就能做成那个代码是可以完全自动化部署和那个就是完全绘制化，你就是一听这指令我咔全部上去了。
咱们这最后怎么交作业？要上到要放到哪儿？
放到 Google 上，
放 Google 上。那这些都不用改，
不用改，当然
没有什么服务器的配置。
没有。
哎，你好。
啊，就是我的启动。
喂 ，Hello， 你好。喂 ，Hello。打一个。
malah kira di tahap bagi di barang lalu kan nanti dia problema pasto salir proses salah atau apa
啊，这个就是说，到时候我在本地跑是这么写，但是到 Google 上去按 Google 的形式写一下就行了。
就你的本
配置
改一下。
对对对对，代码不变。对对对。
Además es porque vamos por el cálculo. ¿Qué más hacer?
算了算了。
没去是吧？
没去，对。
Nere, ma Nero konusu anladı en azından hep birkaç bir rapor da biliyor. Daha şirket biliyor. Mesela forumda hala teknik wanted to have someone şirket da hakem da keser şeyler falan ortak çıkar. Şirket da budo muy algo. Si sarà la foto di video tutto şirket. Daha pues estamos altos de verle sentar y pegar los últimos que bien yo ahora sacar por lo hizo para volver de un salto que para volver de escalera para volver de escalera no en Google aku cakap telepon Google aku share terus program aku lewat Chen kadim ignoração Chen nexo Aquí esto teléfono kali tu bisa telepon bisa tinggal dekat
how to do the discount calculation. So this bit we've done already, how to calculate. This is the bit, the evaluation of the asset itself, the establishment of dependency between the assets, the threat assessment, the cost assessment, and so on. So we want to do that. Identify the asset, determine the vulnerability, estimate the cost of the occur. Compute the potential for loss, and then do a possible control associated. So some people cost more, and then predict the savings. That's what we're trying to do. This diagram, standard diagram, given out to CCTV. The customer has their network, their computers, fitted by the firewall from the internet. Internet's here, so the third party is doing it. BT, Virgin, OT, someone providing you or not. You have your firewall, and you start. This is the DMZ. Users time zone is sorry for the virtual language. Users time zone is where you are expecting outside people to serve.
聊天直接调成这样子，这是地图。
这样，
好像是，再看看，
这好像是都得3的，没啥开发量。
We hope that you have your firewall properties connected to the outside world. Yeah, so we're assuming a lot of firewalls, external servers around places anywhere that can't make insight into the plan. So we're trying to sort of really protect ourselves against this is the trust defense. There's our first wall, there's our second wall, and then I think that's talking about our defense. So what we'll try and do, and now don't worry, so I'm going to read this. Move and Sadiq are teaching you software engineering. Have they gone through slides yet? No, the slide's one way of doing what I'm about to say now, in a much more formal way. This is how we do it. Right? So we have our network, our host, our logical and set. Right? So this is very simple. We have some users on the LAN, use a PC, use a web browser. So we're breaking it down. This is how we do it. This works very well for small companies. Right? So this is me and my guys' way of doing it. For small companies, not going to work for very large companies. There is a software tool done by IT Information Department of the design part of the industry. I can see that. And they have a map of how to do it. We like it for small companies. Right? And what we can do is supply data, manage the data. And have you seen the CVE repository? Fantastic database of all known vulnerabilities. You can search it by type of equipment, your server, web server. You can do it by a particular make of router or switch. Right? And what it will do, it will tell you what the threat is. Right? CWE, on the other hand, is a category which is much better feature response. So here's the detail. Here's the detail of the exploit. Here's the type of exploit. So let me just stop a minute and do that now. The website that's the reason why I'm exceptionally busy. Right? So this is a dictionary of the common types of weaknesses. It's a community one, it's all done together. Very useful. We often use this to categorize them. So when we're trying to categorize, we often refer to this stuff. So you saw number 89, very last catalog. Okay, so but there's lots of tools on here that help you learn. So I'm just going to this list. And you'll see that and this is just a directory, and you can search by web browser, IE7, and so please get familiarize yourself with those. So what we do then is this is our own work. We get the exploits using the database and then see, well, what's the control? In this case, the patch tab. That is on this site, they can tell you what you do to vulnerability. It's very important. They will never pre-fill on that website unless there is a control in place. Admittedly, therefore, there's a possibility there is a vulnerability, but you won't know about it until they've got the patch in place. So sometimes in the security world, you need to keep in contact with other chief information officers and so on that will let everyone know. Not by a public website, but often by a closed website, that there is a vulnerability and the patch is coming out. Once it's found, it will let you know. Again, the same thing, the GUI will apply a firewall here. Would be the exit like that. So these databases are very important. Right? This form of mapping of your system, whether you use this or something else, some other pictorial views, then you want to understand. Breaking it down is quite important. You don't just, you could just mix these up as a simple web browser, web server. There's actually more to them. Break them down and see where the bondages are. This is all for SQL. This is all SQL injection. And, you know, to be honest, there's many more diagrams. But if you follow the 5 basic rules of TypeScript essentially, patch the stuff, not the patch, get the firewall. The firewall is just out there, it's amazing how many of these have to just be solved on the TypeScript essentially. So, the risk map itself, estimating practical way of doing it is to do some modeling and some tools. Okay? Remember, whenever you model anything, in the real world, to write down your assumptions, because to make a model, you have to make some assumptions. You have to get a much smaller version of the real world. Okay? So, if it's a good way of doing it, model. Frequently, drive-by experiments, you work out the non-zero simulation work. Historical data, what's on the past, you know, data from other people, what's affecting people now, what's in the news, what's in the news. Subjective, you can use intuition. Now, intuition is really quite badly understood. It's not just a gut feeling. It's often if you can get the person to expert to articulate that gut feeling, it's often the reason why they're doing that. And sometimes experts really just can't explain it, but there is a reason why they don't check that out. As a project manager, you get used to just knowing where things go wrong, and so you just ask that old question. Like a walk up and ask that one question and do what is wrong. You just have a gut feeling, you know, but actually think about it, you've analysed the risk yourself, you realise this is probably a weak area and you're just checking on it. Potential losses will do that. You must assign some value. It's no good going to senior management with stories or any other unless you put the value on it. This is what was operating, this will cost £100,000, this will get into the regulator. Those types of hard facts really helps. Okay. Cost just justification gives you that quite much cost. You must have some way of down money. Why do we do this analysis? Well, we want to be able to tell the boss how to impost us, which is the first thing. We want to make sure we can keep running, so you must do your audit and review and status. It's a good way to communicate to the rest of the departments and companies. Yeah, it just helps people know why. One of the biggest problems is that in any organisation, people will do a process, do something they're not know why. So a good example, if you go to the bank, they ask you for 2 forms of ID. And they ask you for something that is your photograph, then it's your home address, right? And they just say that's what you must do. Actually, where that comes from is the problem of not understanding. Was it asked 2 forms of ID? 4 examples. And the 4 examples match in the rule. But no one knows why the rule exists. Right? What were they trying to get at? And so what happens is that very often, if you don't communicate with people why, they don't understand why you do right? So, examples that have to be next Friday. That's all it's on. Right? They don't tell you, if you go through that, you can't go through the exam, you can't go back in time, and therefore, we're going to pay the £1,000 in printing costs. Right? So it's a lot. They don't know why they're on things. You end up throwing in the air. So people need to be thinking why we right. So before you've got this problem, your organisation there exists for a reason, it has a business to follow. Our security is about making that business happen, right? And therefore your risk analysis is in the context of the organisation and it's involved in society to make something right. So for me, it's disgraceful. It's really disgraceful that a national infrastructure does not follow the basic security required from business. Not about advanced, basic. But it is all this, it is the company. Remember, we're talking about sluice gates opening and closing. We're talking about generation of electricity. We are one power station away from the other. You have no power station goes down. Why? Because we don't close down Spanish. No British government don't own any of the gas. They own no investment. But because they don't own it, they don't do security. Not their way, because they've got help. They're fast, they're steady. And fast produces more nuclear power, that they generate power, nuclear power plants, more than they need. So we use it to rectify. But, you know, what's the purpose of your business? Don't security follow you. So why do you think analysis consistency? Being consistent and objective approach to what we're doing, we're following procedure. Awareness, make people aware. And set targets for your security. It's no good having unrealistic goals. If you have a nice target, people know what they're doing. And if you also have smart objectives, the idea is you set an objective, you can measure that objective, you review that objective. So if you have something that's probably targeted, the rate of traditional income more mobility, and you fund it, good. Right? If you don't have these, people don't know where they're going and what they're doing. So risk planning, specifically risk strategy to manage that risk. It brings that avoidance strategy, minimization strategy, the impact will be reduced. And most importantly, this is the big one, how do you get yourself back in money? That's the big thing. Contingency planning, you know, what happens if your network over in building 59 is online which whole ECF? How do you do that? How to get back to money? You know, you must be able to do that. So monitoring like all these things, you have your plan, you have your action plan, you implement it, check. And the higher up you go in the industry, the more you have to think about monitoring. It is not fair on your staff to give them targets and never check them. That's demoralizing. They might say, well, if you're a bit of bad wash, always check on them. No, you've got to check on them. And you must have a time, once a year, once every 6 months, when the key bits of the organisation and business are discussed and reviewed. Okay, so that's the risk side of things. And, you know, I have gone through this in 1 hour, and there's a whole study of everything. Okay, so please be aware that there is much more. Have you been able to cybersecurity lab in building 1? If you put bars on the windows, do you can move it inside or outside? Or not? People in Britain don't think about this. People overseas think about it much more. Where is the bar going? On the outside of the inside? I want to protect my department, I don't want to do my... Why? Because when I break the glass, the fire alarm goes off. Then I've got to cut through the bars to get in. But if on the outside I cut through the bars, then I break the glass, and I've got 2 minutes, and after 15 hours, right? So this is what you do now. You know, you're thinking, well, what am I protecting? You're protecting your impression. And then it might be a server room. You've got to, so very much abroad, South Africa, next to Africa, I don't know. But the gate's not on the inside. It will break the outside door, the alarm goes, and then it gets to the gate. That takes so much time. And normally that alarm response there, so you don't know. So, this control is very important. Server rooms. Locks, right? Good, solid padlock. Is really good. So we have some lovely server rooms here that are all locked. Have any of you seen them? Okay. The trouble is the door is fantastic. It has a very expensive door. You can't hardly lock it. It's very expensive. You can't lock the door. The problem is, if you bang the wall beside it, bolt. One good kick, right, and you're in the server room. You've broken the door frame. Well, you made a mess. Who cares? You can walk out. You're stuck. Or, if you do Dennis McConnell's you can pick the lock, go in, and push something back to server. Right? Now, penetration testers do this all the time. Their job, or what penetration testers are to get into your company. And they love IT companies more than anything else, because they are so good at cyber. They forget about the law. Right? They don't think it's important so much. Right? The fact they can then get in, has Ollie told you this story yet? They were this fantastic and they were very good. You arrived and they escorted you everywhere. And they had, if you had 2 people, they had 2 people. Right? Very good. But these penetration testers were very good. They began telling me about boring stories. Right? This should be my next boring stories. And after a while, they were so bored, they broke the rule. They went for coffee. One went for coffee. So one of the other guys slipped into the server room, put a dong in the server, very quickly. They were there as workmen doing something that they were so quick. That's what it takes. The company then confidence. So, because they didn't have a lock on the server room. They thought their front gate security, their whole out the castle security was brilliant. They didn't need the inside security. They could have been in and out of the room all the time. Okay, so physical controls are very much part of cyber. Now remember, Internet of Things. Yes, we need out those small devices. But what happens if you have a radio station or a satellite station a couple of miles away from your headquarters? You know? And it's normally just a nice concrete block with a door on. You don't go and put a £5 padlock on that, do you? Because if what there is, and the other thing that people often forget, you must have seen the Mission Impossible. Right? What's the biggest thing people often forget? The junction box. Right? Or, right? If I want you to listen to my office, I do not need to plant a bug. How can I listen to anything in my office without planting a bug in my office? You must have that fine thing. Come on. What? No. I can sit outside with a nice lane touch, point it at my window, and my window becomes the biggest amplifier, all the noise from this is my room. If I then use the same technique, I can work out a key number and time it. I can even work out the noise my computer making as it's processing the content. Right? So when I was in the Air Force, we were doing some workshop with the pilots, and they were flying east, and east in those days were sensitive. And so we weren't allowed in the room. We used to put all the biscuits in and walk out the room. The next thing, the guys came up, shot too much. What happened was, one of the pilots left the telephone we put next to the CRT, not so much used now CRTs. And as the pilots were flying east, all that sensitive information was being transmitted all over the transport channel, all over the airport, by a long piece of wire. And they sat in their van at the end of the airstrip, seeing all this information. You don't need, what you know how to do this, very, very simple. Right? So it was common around the 80s and 90s for people to stand outside police stations and look in terminals when they hadn't even gone in. There's no wire connection, just looking at the emissions from the screen and from computers. Okay? It's well-known technique, good spy technique. So many rules now for election, and you knew there's what we created. Why? Remember, cybersecurity is about what information asset. If you're a drug company, it's about the design of your drugs, your protocols, all those things are very sensitive information. Manufacturing companies really should design. These spyware things have been around for a long time. And just because we're doing cyber, we mustn't forget, we must protect our information from physical as well as the electronic. And the electronics guys can stand outside this building, see all that's on this screen, and hear all this conversation, and we go near us. And there's nothing in this building to move at all. Okay, so remember that. If you've got a meeting room, and you may have the best cybersecurity on all the laptops, if some guy across the building, for example, some people in the British Embassy happens to be opposite the Berlin Parliament, can listen to all the things that go on in the Berlin Parliament without even finding it. The Germans were quite upset when they realised what we were doing. We didn't do anything, we just sat there, put the laser, we got everything. Not good spy, my colleagues, but they were. Right? So physical controls actually matter. So you ought to be thinking about that. Your server room, you have a lot of air conditioning, you've got to be cool. Who's coming in and cleaning that, and check that out. You have this third-party supplier coming in to do your air conditioning. Cybersecurity people must be alarmed. They're walking in, right? And they're going to walk in. You don't know what they're going to plug into, right? They don't even have to be cybersecurity. They could just be a plain cleaner, a guy who just cleans your air vents. But he's been bribed £50,000 to plug something in the back of the server. But sure has to do that, it's fine. You do a check, no cyber potential involved in the insurance companies are invited. So, as you know, Morrison's has a real problem with people these days. Their devices, the carbon taking your grocery, was taking all your carbon and transmitting it to a third party. And Morrison's were confused how that happened. How did they do it? One cleaner that night was paid £50 to swap out one of just unplug and swap out one of their things. Now what someone had done, they bought a whole load of these car units, right, shipped them overseas, got them changed, brought them back, basically, because there was no check, because you didn't buy them from British companies in Britain, you bought them from an overseas company, so they didn't have them all of that, and for a long time, it was money spending. Right? You've got to think physical as well as cyber. Right? Your information assets trying to protect can be compromised by multiple cyber attacks. So, common sense and most uncommon virtue, Mark Twain also said this. When you hear these stories, you need to realise how vulnerable you are. Okay? So physical security measures that are designed to deny access to unauthorized personnel from physical access in the building, facility, resource, or stores information. What do we stop them? Including attacks or even accidental intrusion, can be simple as a locked door or the ladders of multiple layers of barrier armed street guards and guards. How much then money, what is the risk, and so on. The aim is to make it too difficult, risky or costly to make it even attempt an intrusion, i.e. to go somewhere else, so it's easier. Strong security measures also act at a cost, and there can be no perfect security. So by the way, these doors in Glasgow are fine, they're really positive, fantastic. People just tie them up to the car, drive away, pull it out from the wall, fix and everything. Right? They know they've got 5 minutes before the security alarm, but they're new line of guns. Right? You don't have armed security here. Ground security features a top amount of equipment and access. So I don't know if you've seen these buildings where you can walk in and you've got one person at a time to walk through. Oh my goodness, first thing in the morning, queues are out trying to get into the building. You know, but it's one way to try that. And lifestyle is the cost, you know, but cost under and cost up is okay. So you really want to think, if you're going to do this properly, passive and active. So you've got your passive, which is a lock, your bolt, your active, presenting, so the things that make a real loud noise if someone intrudes. So it's so loud that human beings can't stand it. Hopefully you would have some physical security as well. So people from overseas sometimes are better at hunting because we live in a world where but there are other things talking about this. Natural disaster is also need to explain that. Flood, fire, lightning storm, earthquake, explosion, all these happening. Not heard about that one? Right, they're scooping up water for forest fire, and somehow they get a cow in there and drop it down. So that's dropping the building. Power loss, are we using new gases, surge suppression? Very important. Here we're very good with our bombs and frequencies, they will sit down. Another place where I've worked, you have to ground out, lots of spikes like 30, and that can cause problems. If you don't do that, your server goes down, so your posture vandalism, you know, keeps us playing around in an outhouse and stuff, not intending to be a business down and do that. Having, who knows in Britain we often have a time, trains can't go between Waterloo and Basingstoke because someone stole the copper. Not with that one. Regular, someone took copper. So I asked my friend Buster, well, he was so annoyed, because he was looking down the day, and the lights were on, all was on, he was getting annoyed, that's a waste of money. So he phoned the transport, he said, what's going on here? I said, I thought people stealing copper. Because if it's on and power's on, they're shot. And people laugh at that, often copper's so expensive, that it's worthwhile people risking their lives stealing it from where. But unfortunately, it's what the signal is now. So, unintentional vandalism or theft and damage can cause a business to go. Information theft, shredding, overwriting, damaging, all those things. Depends on the level of security. You can shred and burn, you can just shred. Okay, so we have to think about competency planning. So, it's quite difficult to get a good plan first. Because you've really got to be thinking, how am I going to get this system up and running? Is it tap? Is it flood? What's happening? You say, well, hang on, is that the system programmer or our responsibility? As security people, you're the highest level, and they often come to you and say, down and sort it out. We could do a complete backup, a revolver backup into the system. Are we doing our off-site backups? Where is our off-site? are we on the network? So, I'm using two phrases here, cold site, hot site, and third party. A cold site is a place somewhere else where, if necessary, you can put some servers and get your business up and running. And that often takes a while to do. It's often not on, and the hot site is somewhere, say on campus, if ECS goes down, there's more servers somewhere, they're up and running, just swap over them. The problem you've got to watch is that are they physically as well as logically separated? While you're doing this, does a power cut in Southampton take out power? If Southampton floods, because the river comes down, is it going to flood Winchester at the same time? That's where I should come. So, we could use a third party company to do recovery, to power ourselves. But for me, it's this cold and hot site thing. The hot site's more expensive. You've got duplication ready. But the essential business system, again, don't need for everything. But where you want to spend the money, if we had a need, and what happens to our network, could we swap from another network to keep the of the organization working? Do we need to shut down the clock, set up somewhere else? So someone walked in, they mucked around their server, you've got compromise on the server, it's not a matter of just installing back up.
I can see the point of having a hot site. What about the cold site? So it will not ensure business continuity. So
It will take time, yes. It takes about a week to be there and get them working and get them resources back up. It takes about a week to just a small bit of service. It's a week lost. So it's 1 week you're lost, but you are back up and running within a week or so. Okay. It's not ideal, but remember, so something has happened, you can't, so let's be really soon. So people have got into power plants here, and they've managed to change all the switches on SCADA controls via the unit system, and basically shut down the whole of the university. So they've got a security problem, they've gone in, SCADA controls have all gone, power plant shut down. We need to get back up and running for cost replacement sites, or the essential businesses we have to do. Our hot site's gone. We were stupid enough to have them in the same electrical circuit, okay? Right? So we now have a cold site. Not ideal, not the best, but we have to use a cold site. I mean, our priority will be a nice hot site. That is the best. Oh yeah, cold site's not. But sometimes you want businesses back and running, you need to have that place. But don't forget, you're paying rent on somewhere you're not using. You may have servers there, it's a problem to have up, but maybe though, you're paying rent. You know what I mean? That's why the third party is often coming into place. Again, you're still paying them.
But it shouldn't be on the same country, right?
No, it's kind of the same country unless you're worried about the region. What you're really worried about is that if you're in a region that floods, you don't want anything in that region. Or if you're supplied by, because you've got a network of power, right? You are supplied by the same subnet, right? That's what you don't want to be done. And if you can keep them off that way, you better. Across country, it gets very difficult. There are problems with data protection, there are problems with IP. So I know that in fact in South Africa you can't take the IP out of the country, you're not allowed to. There's all these other national, it's often not a technical problem, it's often a legal or organizational problem rather than. So, as you're saying, how long do you need to respond? Is human life at risk? Some of you may be involved in medical security, or home security. Maybe they've been hacked and they fall or come down. Have we allowed to have a degrades of the system. Right? So if they get in with a word, are we shutting the hospital down? Have we managed to focus them off? Their defensive look like a mechanism. I know I can say instead, because that's good, but the price controls, I want to control like all servers on site, etc. And remember, nowadays we're going more fiber optics. Fiber optics is not good for prices. Right? So we have voice over IP here, networking voice over IP. Building 53 has to go down once a month because they are redoing some work on the power plant, though, cut off the power, no telephones or anything. So if you want to move disaster, you must still have some old-fashioned landline. And don't go to five countries with the Bluetooth ones, but good old-fashioned system care wire. Okay? There's a time to think about what happens to the and of course there's another standard. So ISO 27002 is the information technology security techniques, code of practice for information security management, and some of that is there as well. So ISO 27000 is a conglomerate of all these sorts of good ideas in cybersecurity and security. So we can explain the difference between quantum risk. We must carry out assessment of what approach to achieve this. Why carry out assessment of risk? They're the questions. Remember, physical security and backup often go together. You do time together in about 2 seconds. So I've got a few minutes to talk about Hanny's work. Hanny is thinking about the Internet of Things, and he's thinking about how do I give controlled access to an Internet of Things device. And we're trying to sort of link to the information and things like devices in the home, that type of thing. The trouble is, if we take the normal access control, we have a problem. It doesn't quite work. It can be reaches, it's not flexible enough to detect when something happening. So he's looking at doing dynamic access or adaptive access control in real time. Looking at things like trust, risk, context, history, is really bringing the risk now in the access control. So the security risk is reduced dynamic in real time in the future. It's very important for that. So what we've got here, user context is also going to be access to risk history. What's our policy? And then we're going to estimate the risk for access. Are we going to do access or not? But we're monitoring your activity. What it's saying is it's not enough to work out once. Person A is allowed to do this, person A can do this. Is your behaviour suggesting that you're not person A? Or you're now up to something you weren't allowed to do? So that's what this is for. Security risk. So what he's doing is basically asking, right, that in the risk policy you have your smart contract, which is smart contracts are very, very important part. In the Internet things nowadays, you want the machine to decide what you be. So if you obey the smart contract aspect, so when you are monitoring behaviour, did you do the things you asked to do? Were you behaving in the way that we expected? That's smart contract. And if it's yes, you know, it will warn you with scarce information. So the idea is, rather than saying person A has lifelong opportunity to use this device, that may be the father in the household. However, the son has realised what the password is, and starts to do some other things they should be able to do, like watch those parent off the TV or something, I don't know. Right? Smart contracts, hang on, this is not normal. It's not what we read. So next time that the son to the pastor logged in, no, not are they? Because he comes from your principle. And that's the idea of adaptive risk control. It doesn't just come in the big picture. We're trying to say, what is the risk for having multiple log in? Now this is the big picture of rate which reports on that. Now we're getting down to deep detail. And we're beginning to think about what is smart contract to do that, what's the risk estimation. So we're talking to people like Tai Jun, who's gone with in management, who deals with risk. How do we look at people's behaviour? What's the risk factors for that? Not the smart contract. Have you heard the term smart contract? Used a lot in distributed ledger, blockchain, done blockchain yet with something like that? Remove blockchain. And smart contract is the big thing because smart contracts are often not human beings and not often written legally. Computers are understand legalese. And so where smart contracts are being used in Bitcoin, it's exploited big time. Got to do with Bitcoin because it's exploited the legally smart contract. So what we're doing is saying, well, hang on, can we do that by formal method to make sure that that actually does do what it's meant to? So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, I talked about the big picture of risk, but risk can be to adaptive control, and risk can use more and more elements of security. So tomorrow, I will have two of my PhD students who speak to you about forensics and how they apply forensics to the cloud and forensics to the internet. Okay, so see you guys tomorrow.